Good afternoon, lecturers. Welcome to today's Computer Practice N5 workshop, hosted by Macmillan and Trilpan Publishers. At the outset, we would like to apologize for the later start. This was due to unexpected circumstances. Nevertheless, we are here and ready to go. My name is Gan Krishna. I'm the National Sales Manager at Macmillan. We are delighted to be hosting today's workshop with the objective of providing you, the lecturer, with additional support as you navigate the new curriculum changes. The platform we are using today is the GoToWebinar. The control panel will appear on your right. Please make use of the chat box to pose your questions to our presenter, and he will tackle this during the presentation or at the end during the Q&A. Just some background about our presenter. His name is Shailendra Sasti. He's a provincial and college world skills essay expert in IT software solutions for business skills, an experienced TVET lecturer with many years of lecturing experience, seasoned national marker for IT subjects, and a well-known author of Computer Practice. His Computer Practice N4 book was rated the best book from 15 books submitted by the 2020 DET Textbook Review Committee. So with that introduction, I'd like to hand over to Shailendra, who's going to take us through the presentation this afternoon. Over to you, Shailendra.
Thank you again for the lovely introduction. Good afternoon, everyone, to this online lecture training workshop. Again, I must apologize for the change of schedule. I know it inconvenienced a lot of people, and I know some of us are unable to attend due to the time slot that has been moved too. But what we have done is we are recording the session, and Gan will now send a link to the recordings to everyone that registered, so you will not lose out on the benefit from this training. Unfortunately, with COVID, we have to go with the flow, and then sometimes circumstances have changed, and you know what happens when we have cases, and then you have to go into sanitizing mode and so forth. So things have to change. So here we are at this lecture training workshop. So what I want to cover today, and I just want to start very briefly as to the purpose of this workshop. So I've received a lot of requests for hands-on training on how to teach a course, and especially some of the new contents. And there's a lot of issues that have been popping up purely because of the pandemic. And this is very understandable. You've got a new curriculum you're dealing with. You're also dealing with very challenging circumstances. So this workshop is actually designed with that in mind. So this is not an in-depth workshop where we're going into the entire curriculum and the changes and so forth. That was done when we did the marketing workshops earlier in May, where we explained the detail in the curriculum and the changes and so forth. Here I'm just focusing on pertinent issues that has been brought to my attention by lecturers who have now contacted me via our lecture support email address. So what I want to focus on today is the changes in the new curriculum outcomes, the revised 2021 ICAS guidelines. These are the ones that have been changed in from implementation from July, right? Because of COVID. Tips how to teach the content during the pandemic, basic training on the new content. If we have time, let's briefly touch on the performance of the CPN4, the new curriculum, the exams, how the curriculum went, and what I've got feedback so far on the performance of the students, and what are the thoughts of the new curriculum. And then we'll go into a question and answer session. This is going to be a hands-on practical training. So even though I've got some PowerPoint slides which I'm going to go through, I'm actually planning on taking you through Microsoft OneNote. There's been a lot of requests on how to teach OneNote, how to use it, and so forth. So I will actually take you through OneNote and through the package itself, especially as far as the N5 curriculum is concerned. Please bear in mind, OneNote runs in N5 and N6. So at N5 is just the basics, and in N6 there is a bit more detail that's covered. So I'll walk you through that. Now let's quickly go into the curriculum changes. So we're all familiar with this model, right? Just to bring to your attention again, around the notional hours and the self-study component. This is so important now with the pandemic, with staff teaching on rotation. You have to make use of self-study. I'm going to show you some tips on how to bring this thing in and to make use of the self-study component to help us to cover the syllabus in time. Okay, so comparing the old and the new curriculum, right? So again, if you attended the May workshop, you would have seen this, but by now you're all familiar with the new curriculum, right? So these are just the changes that we're bringing in. And as we can see here, we now have Microsoft OneNote as part of the practical component. Okay, and there's mobile hardware that's now part of the theory component. And then we've got networks, computational thinking. I was going to spend some time when I get to these sections on how to teach the sections. I'll give you some idea of some of the background and the thought of why these were brought in. But given the pandemic right now, these sections need to be handled in a very specific way for enable us to complete the curriculum and also to prepare the students for the exams. Okay, so dealing with topic 3, topic 4, topic 5, I'll give you some tips on how to teach these concepts for this year. Okay, obviously in 2022, you know, obviously we will have to go into a little more detail, but for this year, there will be some tips on how to prepare the students for the exams and how to manage our time during the pandemic. Okay, so let's get into the meaty. Let's have a look at the revised curriculum, so the ICAS guidelines, right? So I took this screenshot on the document, Annexure S3. Okay, so as you can see now, we only have our 2 tasks, our task 1 and task 3, being your assignment and your internal examination. So the test falls away. So with the assignment is now changed. So the assignment now needs to cover at least 80% of the practical component of the subject. We got your contribution to ICAS, which is 40%, and then you got your internal exam, where your contribution is 60%. This is going to be a tricky one, you know, because you'd have started with the theory sections first, especially with module 1, topic 1, and then you would have covered, you were aiming to push for the assignment. So I'll give you some ideas of how to structure your assignment. And then you got your internal exam that now covers 70 to 80% of the entire syllabus. So we know that the practical part is mostly in topic 1, and that's just 80%. And by now, all of us should have moved on to Excel, you know, or thereabouts. So I'll give you some ideas on how to cover that. With regards to the internal exam, you know, we have to get our kids ready for the entire curriculum. And here we're talking about 70 to 80%, which means we need to manage the theoretical component to achieve this. Because when we come back after the break, there's not much time that's left. So I'll give you some tips and pointers around there. With regard to the internal exams, it doesn't matter which book you have bought. Every publisher should have provided you with an sample exam question paper, right, which you're going to use to take your students through that to prepare them for the final exam. So some ideas for the assignment. So what I advise the lecturers to do is to try and focus on file management. Maybe give about 10 marks there. Have a word question with manipulation. Have a word question to test mail merge. In the Excel section, have a question that's going to test formulae and functions. Very important that we cover the functions that are in the curriculum, right? Because you want the students to really apply themselves. So the assignment is going to force them to make sure they cover it and they know the work. So if you don't test all the functions in the assignment, then you know what's going to happen. The kids are really not going to focus so much. And then it comes to the exam time, it's going to be a bit difficult to make sure they understand the functions by then. Also bring in charts as a charts question. So what I was suggesting, as you can see here, is that you maybe leave out one note depending on your time. If you feel you could cover one note, it's fine, you can bring it in. But I think with OneNote, once you go through it, you can see it's quite an easy application. So, and because we do it in such a basic form in N5, right, it's not going to be a challenge to get these kids ready for OneNote for the internal exam, because you'll have your revision time by then, and you should be able to cover it. So my advice to you for the assignment is rather focus on these. Make sure you cover and test these thoroughly. I did not include the theory part in there because I'll give you some hints on how to cover that. If you make the assignment just too big, you'll find that the students will have a difficult time in completing it. So the practical part, my advice to you is to focus on that and try and focus on these areas here. Those people that have bought our textbook or bought my textbook, I've provided you with a sample assignment question. So obviously you can go through that. Now, with the exam breakdown, just bringing you through this again so we're all aware, this is very important. You're looking at our N5, so we got our theory components, give you roughly 60 marks. You got your practical component, give you around 120 marks. Now remember, the final exam is going to be, this is a guideline, so it won't be 100% 60 marks for section A and 120 marks for section B. It's a rough guideline, you know, so the theory may be slightly less and the practical may be slightly more, or the theory may be slightly more and the practical slightly less, but the total will come to 180. So that's something we need to bear in mind. What we also need to know, also prepare our kids for, and I know in the N4, CP N4 paper that they wrote in semester 1, it did not have file management. But for the CP N5 paper, it will have file management. So we need to make sure file management is covered. That's why I suggest we use it in the assignment. And with regards to the CP N4 paper in semester 1, file management was supposed to be tested, so maybe the examiner just left it out because of the new curriculum and trying to make it a bit easy for the students, and it was quite an easy paper. So regarding that, going forward, file management will be tested in CP N4 in the final exams. So please, for the N5, just make sure we try and stick to the structure. Also, when we come to the theory component, we try and figure which is the most important sections, how to cover them, where to put some effort, because we don't have a lot of time. So where do you put the effort in? So that is something I want to try and hopefully go through today. So making use of the self-study component. Now, it's actually impossible given the time frame that we have, given the fact that we are on rotation and how many days you actually take to see all your students for your allocated lessons. Some colleges are on a 10-day plan, some colleges are on a 12-day plan, some colleges rotate between 3 days. So it's very challenging. So I don't know what your college is implementing and how you're doing the whole rotation process. So it's extremely difficult to cover it. So my advice to you is that try and provide them with practical activities where they can actually attempt the work on their own, right? So you do a bit of introduction and you do some demonstration, maybe do one, and then give them activities where they have to go home and they have to practice it. Oh, if you don't have a computer, if you try and set up extra lab times for them where they can actually sit now and actually attempt it. So by doing that, you are now making sure that they master the work, and also you're able to cover more content So you have to try and promote self-study. It's on the practical part, I know it can be challenging based on lab issues, okay, but it's something that you need to think about. Uh, a lot of the textbooks have these activities, right, where the students can actually attempt on their own. Please make sure you actually allocate it to them and try and make it structured so they know they have to cover these activities in this week and so forth. So they know that you are expecting them to do it. On the larger activities to prepare for tests, it's very important that you do provide them with some sort of I know the test is not it's not covered in this semester, but we still need to prepare them for test level type questions because it will come out in the internal exam. So when we're covering the content, you want to do some simple work and where they can cover it, and then you want to give them a little bit more integrated activities because you want to test some problem solving skills and you want to prepare a bit of independent thinking. If not, they're gonna struggle in the final exam, because they won't have you there to show them exactly how to answer each question. So it's important that we cover or that you provide them with access to questions that are a little bit more integrated so they are able to develop this problem solving ability, right, to help them for the tests and the exams. These could be done at home, it could be done at college. So obviously you're going to look at your schedule, try and manage yourself, how you actually cover it, right? A lot of lecturers are using a bit of remote assistance where we actually make a little bit of YouTube video, some small videos, and we provide it to the students via WhatsApp, right? I try and keep my videos maybe around about under 5 minutes. So it works up between 7 and 10 megs. So if you use Zoom, for example, Zoom is free. It allows you to make a small video recording and it keeps it quite small. So 7 to 10 megs is quite fine, and the students don't mind downloading it. I make them, I make a small video about what I want to cover the next day. So they watch that video the day before, they come to college, and then we can quickly jump into an activity. So I don't have to actually spend time now showing them how the theory part, how we need to do something. There will be kids that still don't get it, so you can work with them individually. But by and large, you'll find that most of the class, once they get used to it, will be able to start uh, to handle the activities, and then you can now cover more work practically in class. If you want to start the teaching in class and do the practice in class, it's be very, very challenging to complete during the limited time that you have. So also examinable activities is very important. Once they've reached a certain stage and they finish the module, a section, so they finish Word, uh, give them activities that are off the exam level and let them attempt it, right? You can discuss it with them via WhatsApp or via WhatsApp group. Let them do it, and if they need to print it, they can even email the work to you by email if they can have those opportunities. So obviously you'll work within your environment, see what plan best works for you. Every college is not the same, right? But try and expose them to these questions after you finish every module. Do not wait until you finish all the practical concepts and then you're now giving them questions on Word. Because these kids, they would have forgot what they learned on Word after they've done Excel. So it's important to do it systematically so it builds those problem solving skills at that current stage while the work is fresh in their mind. So before you move on to the next package, you develop some skills. So when you do the revision part, it sort of brings back the memory. Okay, so obviously you want to keep them quite comprehensive. So it takes a bit of time for them to complete it and prepares them for how the exam will be laid out. Right, so in this section here now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly go through uh, some of the content uh, in the curriculum, right, and give you some pointers here. So I know you've already finished some of the theory part, but I just want to get through this again quickly. In case you haven't, right, it's very important on the new changes. Please make sure that they are the students understand the concept of memory, the different types of memory. What I like to do is direct the students to the activities, make sure to do the activities. I even just ask them to maybe just email me the answers and so forth, and to see that they're attempted to work, and then you just maybe just create the answers for them and via PDF file and put it on their WhatsApp group, so then they can check their work after you know that everyone has attempted it, because this theory is quite important, especially on memory, the different types of storage, the different sizes of hard drives, different types of hard drives. Okay, a very important section also in this section here is regarding your components of a PC and mobile computers. So mobile computers are new in N5, and it will be tested quite a lot in the exam. So we need to make sure that the students are aware and they are able to handle these type of questions. Please make sure that they do pay attention to this concept. I know with the theory, we are all rushing through it, right? So some of us are not even teaching it that much, just when they get to the practical components quickly. That's fine too as well. But just make sure you direct them to questions that covers these sections, and you make sure that they submit those answers to you, so you know that they have read that part of the textbook and they answered those questions, so they've covered it for themselves, right? So if you just say read the work, they won't read the work. You got to make sure that there's a way for you to manage, ensure that they have read the work, and that is by giving you answers. Okay, you don't have to mark it. Like I said, prepare the answers and then just send it to them via a WhatsApp group after they have submitted, so then they can check the work is right or wrong. Okay, so like I said, mobile technology is quite important. They need to make sure they understand this. Also, an important section in this topic here is how to choose a computer, right? So they will be given a question in the exam on how to choose a computer. So they need to understand the components of a CPU, of a RAM, of a hard drive, and the performance characteristics of it. So if I want to use a computer for do business tasks, what performance characteristics do I need, right, for my desktop? So what type of CPU do I need? What's the size RAM do I need? You know, what size hard drive do I typically need? So these are the type of questions they must be able to get around, because they will be given a question where they are tested to see if they can apply how to choose a computer for a specific use, right? So they need to know how to select the computer. Right, so direct them to activities that's going to test them, something like this, right, where simple test of activities or a little bit more in-depth questions, so what they can sort of expect in the exams. Make sure they attempt it. You don't have to physically go through, but if you do have time, maybe just give them the question and maybe do a small video on the answer of this, why, if this is the question, and then PC1, PC2, PC3 is the options, which would be the best option for this particular question? And how did you come to that understanding? So if you can maybe walk them through one or two questions of this nature, how to answer them, then they'll have a better understanding of how to actually use the table, because it's all given in the table, you know. So how to use a computer, what typical tasks do they actually need. So if you walk them through it, and especially how to follow the 5 steps, then they have an idea how to do it, and then they should be fine. Okay, so coming to the word part, I'm actually not going to spend too much time here, right? So we're all familiar with this. Again, on the word side, please note that I have received a lot of questions from lecturers as well regarding Microsoft Office, how to log in. Now, I'm not certain what package your colleges are using, but we need to bear in mind that you get Office 2016, 2019, and 365, right? So 2016 and 19, the college will own it upfront. You don't need to put in any login details. But if you have Office 365, you need to have a Microsoft account. So you have to log in with a username and password, right? So if your students at home don't have access to Office, right, you can go to office.com and they can actually, but they have to have access to the internet, obviously. So via office.com, they can actually get access to Office for free, right? And they have to log in with a Microsoft account. If they don't have a Microsoft account, then they can just create one for free as well. So that is for students who don't have Office on their computers, right? So you can use office.com to actually access the package. Microsoft provides you that for free. All right, so dealing with some of the new commands in Microsoft Word, um, exporting, right? Also converting a document, exporting and converting documents are important. You need to know they need to know how to cover this. Importing objects. I know this is definitely in the exam, so please make sure that they understand this. How to insert an object from, especially how to inserting a CSV text file, right? So make sure you walk them through this. If you cover it, if you finish Word and you just quickly browse through the section, please try and make some time and come back to this, right? And make sure you cover this section with them, how to input objects from different file formats. And make sure you cover CSV text files. Okay, mail merge. Well, mail merge is quite straightforward. It's not much changes here. So I'm sure you're all covered mail merge and there shouldn't be major issues with regarding mail merge. With regards to Excel, so again here, it's very, very important that we actually show them how to use these functions. So some of the feedback I received from the marking centers for the computer practice in for the new curriculum that was run in the previous semester is that not all lecturers were able to finish the Excel syllabus in time for N4. So, and as some students even made notes about it, the scripts. So we need to be careful about that. We need to make sure we cover Excel. Excel is not an option in N5. You have to make sure the students do it. If you do the functions, you will find that they will be able to manage it, right? So please make sure you cover the Excel functions. There's again, it's all about the activities. If you use sufficient activities that test the use of these functions and they get the hang of it, the more they do, the better for them. You're not going to cover everything in class. So please structure your activities so you do make sure you give them activities to do for self-study. Now, I'm now going to go onto OneNote, and here I'm gonna move away from the PowerPoint presentation, and we're gonna go into OneNote itself, and then walk you through how to actually use OneNote. So before I get there, so Microsoft OneNote is a package basically meant for note taking. Very important around OneNote is that you can use it on your Mac device, Android, iOS, on your browser, and also on your desktop. So it's similar to other note-taking apps, but with regards to OneNote, the beautiful thing about it is that it's online. So your file is actually saved online, right? So by doing that, once you create a OneNote document, and then on your desktop, when you go into your cell phone and you open up OneNote on your cell phone, it's already there. The document is already there. It's already synced because the work is actually saved online. So that's the beauty part of OneNote, and that's something we need to make sure that the students understand. Now, with regard to OneNote itself, So you can use OneNote from the Microsoft 365 apps, or you can use OneNote for Windows 10. Now, every computer that has Windows 10 automatically by default has OneNote. So OneNote is provided free for every desktop computer that uses Windows 10. So OneNote you can download if you have your Windows 7 machine as well. Well, I really doubt people are using Windows 7, but if you are, I know you can also download OneNote for your computer. So OneNote is free, right? So the only thing is that when you're using OneNote, like I said, because it's online, you're gonna have to use a Microsoft account when you log in. If you don't have an account, right, you create one for free, it becomes a free account, and then you use the package. So obviously, when we want to start, you need to show them how to start with OneNote. I will get to that point, and then you make a choice as to whether you're using the desktop app or whether you're going to use the 365 app. They are similar, but the interfaces don't look identical. It does look a bit different. So you'll notice in the book, it was done on the Microsoft 365 app. So, and I will show you the difference between the two. Okay, but before we get there, just quickly going to talk about the interface. So this is basically your interface for OneNote. So OneNote is all about taking notes, right? So we generally take notes in our diary, which is an example of a notebook, right? So you'll find that OneNote has a notebook section, which is normally on the left. It will have a sections section, which is here at the top, and it has pages, which is next to it. And if you want to make use of templates, you got templates that can now be implemented. And in your pages, you have sections, what we call containers, where you actually can take your notes, right? And you can use different formats of how you want the notes to actually look. So what is OneNote all about? It's all about a notebook. Every notebook has sections in there. So sections make up a notebook, right? Each section has pages. So if I click on a section, I can have multiple pages to my section. So if you take a diary, for example, when you open up your diary, you will have the month of Jan, right? So the month of Jan now is an example of a section. And in the month of Jan, you'll have the days for each day in the month of Jan. And those will be a page, right? So that's the way we need to think of OneNote and how basically it works. Okay. Then obviously, when you get to OneNote, there we go here. Again, this is an example of how to actually insert. So what I'm going to do at this point now, I'm just going to quickly switch over, and I'm going to take us to OneNote itself. So moving in, so searching for OneNote, there we go. Here's the Windows 10, the desktop app, and there's 365 app. So if I click here on Windows 10, and as you can see, it does look a bit different from the 365 app. Okay, so we have our notebooks, right? We have our sections that are here. We have our pages that basically in this column here, and the notebooks. These are our notebooks that we can add in here. Okay, so I'm going to focus so much on that one. Let's get into the OneNote 365 app. Okay, so with regards to this one, you'll now notice, let me just make this bigger. Okay, so like I said, I've used this one for the textbook, so maybe you should just focus on the 365 app or the OneNote app, and then they're familiar with the interface layout as you see in the textbook. So as you see, we have our notebook sections here on the left-hand side, Okay, so if I click on a notebook, so as you can see here, I have just created one notebook today for CPN5 YouTube videos, and I have one section. There's my section out here. If I want, I got a section for N5 videos. Okay, and on my right here, I have pages. So I've got a page for module in module 4 OneNote videos, and in here I've inserted a table, right? And as you can see, uh, I formatted this table, so it's the content for OneNote. I've got the URL of the videos I want and a brief description. Now you notice I've got the URL here and I have videos. So in OneNote, if you insert a video, it actually plays inside OneNote itself. So as you can see, the sample of the video plays here. If I click on it, it will play the video inside OneNote. So that's quite a nice feature, right? And like I said, here are my pages. As you can see, these are blank. I didn't actually add any content to those, right? So obviously, we'll go through that. So if I want to create a new notebook, so all I need to do now is that I'll click on File, and I'll say New, and now I'll click on Browse, and this is now asking me where I want to save it. So I'm going to say Browse because I want to save this on my computer, right? So I'm going to select a folder. I want to say Desktop CPN5, and let's say I'm going to call this CPN5 Workshop Example. Then I click on Create. Right, that's done. So if you're working from the textbook, right, so you will notice that these steps are covered in the book, right? So how to create a notebook. What we must also, it's very important to bear in mind when we're dealing with OneNote. With OneNote, if I click here on File, you'll notice there is no Save button. Right, so there's New, I can open, I can print, I can share, I can export, I can send, but there's no Save button. Right, so the reason for that is because OneNote shares the document for you automatically. So that's something we must make sure that we explain to the students, right? So if you don't see the Save button and start panicking, start to panic, right? It saves automatically for you. So I just have a new notebook here, okay? And as you see, I've got my sections. So let's say, let's just rename the sections. I'll right click on it, click on rename, and I'm gonna call this timetable. Okay, so obviously you can put in the title for this section, and I'm gonna say CPN5 timetable. And then now, if I want to add my content, but before I get to my content, we notice our pages are here on the right-hand side, right? So to add a new page, all I do is I click on Add Page, allows me to add the page. If I want to rename the page, I just right-click on it, and I can rename the page. So let's call this week 1. Okay, and now in this section here, this is basically our content area. This is where we want to actually enter our information. So to enter information in OneNote, all you basically do is you just start typing. So when you start typing, you'll notice a container gets created. And this container allows us, we can actually move it wherever we want to, right? So this is a container for your notes. Okay, so that's something we need to explain to our students, right? So all we do is you move the mouse over the gray area, and that allows us to basically move the container, and that's our handle. Okay, If I want to create another container, I just click anywhere else and I start typing. And as you can see, another container gets created, right? So that is how to enter data in OneNote. So what we can also do, besides just entering text, we can also insert a table. So click on insert, and there we have our insert options. So I can insert a table, I can insert a picture, I can insert a picture from online, I can insert a online video, right? We can do a record audio clips. Okay, so if you're going to take notes. So here we go here. Let's insert a table. Very simple to make using Word. And then we now have our table, right? And now once I'm in the table, you notice we now have a table option, and then we can now start to format our table. Okay, so if I want to, I can apply our shading, and let's change this color. Okay, we can insert the font that we want to have. So let's call this days session 1. Session 2. Okay, and then again, we can select it and go to home, and we can apply our basic formatting, right? So we can make it bold, we can change the font, we can change the size, right? And we can have content in there. So if you want, we can also make use of lists, right? And then I can have a bulleted list, I can have a numbered list, right? So points to remember, and then I can now insert my list, and okay, and if also you want to make use of a numbered list, then I'll select my numbers list. Right, we can make use of indenting as well. Also, we can choose particular styles. So I can select the text, I can go to my styles, and these are styles that are available. So we can select the style that you want. Okay, those are your styles. Okay, if you want to insert a picture, so let's say, so I don't want to put it inside that container. I want my picture in another container, so I can click on insert. I can insert picture. Let's choose something online. Okay, so let's say classroom. Let's choose classroom photos. Don't know if we have. Right, there we go. Let's select one. Okay, and as you can see, we can now control this picture and we can move it around wherever we want to. Okay, so similarly, we can insert other objects. We can insert also audio file as well. We can also insert an online video as well. So as we can see here, like I was going to quickly go to my notebook I created here for OneNote. Okay, and as you can see, all I did here was I just basically just put in my URL and the video popped in. So let's do another one. So let's say here, OneNote. Let's see if I got YouTube open. Right, let's pick. Let me just paste my URL here. And you notice now, so this is a, so I'm gonna put my note here. This is tips and tricks for OneNote. Okay, so as you can see, After I paste my URL, automatically my video is linked. If I click on it, it'll then open up the video. So I went actually a little bit beyond what's covered in N5. So in N5 is actually quite basic. We just show them how to work with notebooks, how to create a notebook. You need to know how to add new sections, how to rename your sections, how to add pages, how to rename pages, and if you want to, how to delete a page. So how to work with the tables. You need to show them how to insert the table, how to format the table, how to enter text, right? And obviously making use of the simple styles and inserting a picture. You won't find all of this in the N5 curriculum, but my advice to you, because it's so short, it's so simple to work with OneNote, right? You can very quickly demonstrate this. As you can see, I basically did this in a few minutes, right? So I didn't actually take very long to show you all of this. Obviously, the students go a little bit slower, right? But you can cover up to this part. Now, formatting tables and working a lot with images and all that is really in N6. But my advice to you is that when you're working with OneNote, show them how to insert a table and how to insert a picture. It'll even become more fun for them. Okay. One more thing I also want to show you is, let's say, for example, let's add a new page, right? And how to make use of templates. So I'll click on the Insert tab, and then I'll go here to Page Templates, and then I have all my page templates. I'll click on to view all, and now I can just move this slightly. Okay, so there's my grouping. So if I want, I can choose the academic template, simple notes, detailed notes. So if I want to work with, these are blank options. If I want to use business type templates, if I want to do a personal meeting, a formal meeting, right? Decorative. So let's play around with it. So you click on a few styles. As you click on each one, you see your pages automatically start to get created, right? So if you click here, see these are styles that we created. If I want to go to academic, let me do one detailed notes one. As you can see, there is my my template created. So just click on it, template is created, and all you do is you just click in here and you start typing. So this format is already done. They will be asked for N5 on how to use the template. What will happen? The question will say to students to actually go into insert a new page, and it will say insert a template, and it will ask them to select a specific template. So tell them the group. In this case, these are the groups: academic, business, blank, decorative. It'll probably say click on the academic group, and it'll say select a particular template style. They click on it, and then it'll ask them to enter the data into that template. So to enter the data, you just click in there where the container is, and then you type in your notes. Okay, now, like I said before at the beginning, we don't save. So you click on the file, you see you actually can't really save, right? But what you can do though is that you can actually, because what happens is that it gets saved automatically for you, right? So that's the beauty part of OneNote. It does the saving for you. But what you can do is that you can actually export your documents. So, or you can share it. So click on export, right? You can export it into a Word doc, or you can export it into a PDF document, right? You can choose what you want to export, whether you want to export the page, the section, or even the whole notebook, right? So that is something that you can show them. Obviously, that was not going to be tested in the exam, but that is another aspect of OneNote. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly switch back over to my presentation. Right, so we are now rounding up here. So when we're looking at topic 2 dealing with communication and networking, and topic 3 dealing with computational thinking. We need to manage this section, right? Please note that these, especially topic 3, was designed around the use of a pad. And we were talking about how to teach the kids how to create problem-solving thinking skills, right? Given the pandemic and given the lack of serious time that we have, so my advice is that to try not to go into too much detail on topic 3, right? Try and make sure that you cover the theory component. So let me give you some hints here. So in networking, all right, uh, you know, this is a recap from a little bit from info slightly, right? But there are some new things in here. So my advice to you is on the recap part, emphasize what is the recap. When you go into the new concepts, please make sure you emphasize to them. Obviously, you want to do it quite quickly, and you want to be a little bit tactful about it. So you do, some basic explanations, focus on the key areas, and then you're gonna make them. You're gonna ask them to read a lot of the pages, but you need to make sure that they do read it. So the only way you can do that is to direct them to do an activity. Please let them do these activities. By doing these activities, they have to go to the book, they have to go to the page, they have to read it, and they're going to be learning the content. It's quite simple theory, and it's not going to be tested in a very difficult way. So the theory for networking is quite simple. There's not so much of application. So it's just straightforward uh, style where you have to basically just answer uh, recap type questions. Okay, so we can go. Please try and manage that section. Also on computational thinking, there is a case study there. There is a lot of explanations I did in CPN4 around computational thinking, the purpose behind it, why it is brought into the curriculum. Unfortunately, because there is no PAT in this semester, my advice to you is to try is to don't do it in great detail. Try and make sure they understand what is the components of computational thinking, the different parts, why they do it. They can read the case study for themselves because the case study is quite self-explanatory. The steps to follow, what you do in each step, so they will be able to know how to apply it. Uh, it'll only be tested theoretically, so there is no PAT, so they're not going to be asked to follow the various stages of computational thinking. So try and keep it to theory part. Also, you get to online forms. This is a beautiful section that's meant to introduce them to the practical component of it. Again, they will also do this maybe in assignment, maybe in the past. Unfortunately, given the time constraints, this is not going to be tested practically in the exam. So in the exam, this is only going to be covered in theory form. It's a very, very nice section. It's something that's very exciting for them to work with, making use of Google Forms. And here again as well, try and manage your time. Make them read about it. If they have time on their own, maybe ask them to create a Google form using the steps in the book and take it from there. Again, working with online documents as well. If they are, I know NSFAS has been giving out laptops. I don't know what the situation is on the business studies students. I know the NCV and the engineering guys have been getting books. So if our students get laptops, right, they will all have access to a computer. So you can actually teach this section to them quite practically by actually sharing files with them online by using Google Drive and so forth. So again, it's going to be tested theoretically, but if they have some practical exposure to it, it helps them to remember the steps and how to actually use it. So you need to be a little bit tactful how you're going to handle this section. Obviously, everyone might do it a bit differently, but I for one feel that if the students attempt this practically, in some way or form, they are more likely going to be able to remember this concept. But besides remembering, it's a very handy skill to have, to know practical skill, how to use Google Forms, because they will use it, you know. So again, here with blogs, same advice. It's going to be tested theoretically, and then you need to see how you want to manage your time and how you want to handle this. Okay, regarding the remaining topics, again, this is all theoretical concepts. So when we're covering here, please note, bring it to attention. They need to know how search engines work. Again, give them questions based on these topics so they know they have to go and read it and attempt it. Regarding case studies, like I said, I think it might be a bit easier if you ask them to go through it themselves. If you're going to have the time to do it, it would be nice for them to learn the skill. The only problem is the skill is not going to be tested in great detail in the exam, and you might be losing valuable time with this year, unfortunately. All right, so I'm going to come now to the sample question papers. With regard to the sample question paper, like I said, it's provided at the back of the textbook. It's based on the new guidelines. Please note there have been some changes since the last we actually finalized this paper. So the students will, similar to how to the CPN4, the theory questions will be written down, right? And the practical questions only will be attempted on the computer. So try and give them as much access to exam level type of questions when it comes to the internal exam and the final exam, so they have an idea. You can use some of the old questions for Word and Excel where the content is similar, and maybe just tweak it if you have any Word versions, and then maybe just tweak it and add in some of the content that is new from the new curriculum. Okay, so we are providing additional support. So for those people, especially who have used my textbook, please, you can email me at sessidtextbooks@gmail.com. You would have received support material from me already. I have supplied you with sample exams, or give you sample assignments. You will get sample exams as well. I'll also be sending out links to helpful YouTube videos. Like I showed you in the OneNote section, where I created the one notebook for helpful YouTube videos. I will make that available to everyone who has attended this webinar, so you can actually go there and use those videos. I highly recommend those videos. They cover the curriculum very nicely, and it's done quite well. Okay, so we're now at the feedback section. So we'll now open up for questioning.
Thanks, Shailendra. From Nazrina Jusuf, we've got, what office package would you recommend with the new syllabi?
So I don't know what your college is going, which route they are going. I know a lot of colleges, because of Cisco, right? So you'll find that if your college is offering the IT or NCV programs where they're having LO, you know that the Cisco programs are now linked to those courses, right? And the students have to log into the Cisco profile. So to do that, they need a username and password. A lot of colleges have went with Office 365, and they've created Office 365 accounts for the learners via their student number and so forth. So please check with your college to see which way they are going. If they have went the way of Office 365, my advice to you is to use it, because the beauty of that is that that account that they give the student, that username and profile, which they will use to access the emails and access Cisco, that same information they can now log into their own computer. They can download the Office 365 app. They can put in their username and password, and they will now have the full access to Office 365 for free as long as they are a student at the college. So that is the beauty of Office 365 accounts. So if your college is moving that way, or they are thinking about options, my advice is to push them around the 365 route, because now the students now have free access to Office. If they buy Office 2016 and 2019, it's a once-off purchase. Then the college owns it, the college will have it. But the students, if they don't have Office on their computer, they'll have to buy it. So that is the difference. Or if they have access to the internet, they can go to office.com and they can use it for free. But they have to be online for that. And we know online is a big issue with our students. So my advice is speak to your colleagues, see which they're going. If you can push them to run Office 365 route, everyone gains. The college gets free access to Office, the students get free access to Office, and even lecturers as well, because they will create a lecture account for you, an email address, which you'll now be able to access Office 365, and you can use Office 365 on 5 devices with the same username and password. So that's the beauty of it. If they can go the 365 route, that'll be my advice to you. Okay, again, next question. Here's another question.
Okay, from Karen Biedenhunt. How is OneNote going to be asked in the final exam? How is it going to be tested?
Okay, so like I said, it's quite simple. We'll cover the basics. I went a little bit beyond the N5 curriculum in this example. I may have went a bit quickly, but like I said, I will share the links to the other OneNote videos which you can watch. Go through it again, and obviously you'll get access to this video, and you can have a look at the presentation. So they'll have to know how to create a notebook, how to rename, how to add sections, how to rename sections, delete sections, how to add pages, rename pages, delete pages, how to use a template, and then how to enter data into your into a container. And remember, like we said, you click anywhere and you start typing, and a container gets created automatically for you. You'll have to be able to know how to move that, and how to insert a table. That is maybe an image, although it's not part of the curriculum, but it could come in because I know people like to put it into OneNote questions, because it's very easy. It's, as you see, it's very similar to how they actually make use of what. Obviously, they'll also need to know how to use lists, bulleted lists, and your numbered lists, and then changing your font style, font color, font size, your basic formatting. That is how to be a question in exam. Next question again.
From Simpiwe Sumo, going back to OneNote, I seem to have a different screen than yours. Please do tell the software version you are using.
Okay, so like I mentioned before, right? So I am using Office 365. So if you're dealing with OneNote, there are, in essence, 2 apps that you can use. You can make use of the Windows app, or the app that comes with your Office package. So because I'm using Office 365, but the 365 app, the one that you saw now, is very similar to 2016 and 2019. So if you're using the Office app, it should look the same. If yours look different, the chances are you're using the OneNote for Windows that comes with the desktop. That comes free with Windows 10. So that could be it. I'm not certain if is that what you're doing. The third option is obviously to use online and to make use of office.com. So, but I highly doubt that's what you're using. So maybe you're using OneNote for 10. I am using 365. So I know when I started the book, I was using 2016, and then later when I got updated to 365, I I know there was a subtle difference, but it was very subtle, you know. So if you look, it's looking quite different for you, chances are you're using OneNote for Windows 10. The same stuff you can do. The only difference is the layout. Um, if you watch the videos, that's in the links too, right? It also explains how to use OneNote for Windows 10, where to find the commands there. Okay, again, next question.
Again from Karen Bredenhunt, how are they going to mark the things we are going to teach the students? According to me, the syllabi is designed to be marked digitally. Now all the sample question papers look the same as our old question papers. That is where things are getting confusing. Do you have an answer for that?
Okay, so I raised this question when it came for the N4. And you notice I sent out some sample exam papers and also some hints on how to answer the N4 exam when I got the feedback. So the feedback I was given is that what they want to do is they want to migrate to a digital setup, like how they have it in the schools, right? The CAT system, where it's marked online and so forth. That is what it was presented as, but it's a migration, so they're doing it in stages. So for now, they are keeping it as it was, you know, where the theory section is marked, where the students do the theory sections on paper, and only the practical component that the students will have to do on the computer. Then they print it out, and the printouts now get marked. So how it was previously, that system of attempting the exam and how it is marked, that system hasn't changed and will not change. And they will inform us when the migration to the digital approach will happen. But I was told it will happen over time. So it's not going to be an immediate thing. So how the CPN4 exam was conducted, it'll be the same for the CPN5, right? So, and as you know, that is very similar to how we did it in the past. So from a student's perspective and a lecturer's perspective, right, nothing much is changing there regarding that system. So I hope that answers that question. Next question.
Okay, and she continues, even or uneven headers that will result in pages handed in without ID numbers and question numbers. Do you understand what that's about?
Well, like I said, the whole what they want to do is try and not change the system too drastically, you know. So how it was handled in the past is how it's going to be handled going forward until they move to the digital route. So that is my advice to you.
Okay, Simpiwe Suma has followed up his OneNote question with, how is OneNote going to be assessed? Are we going to ask students to work on the program practically, like in Word, for example, assessing formatting accuracy, pictures, and print screens?
Yes. So OneNote is the practical component. OneNote will be tested practically. So the students will have to do it, like how to use the Word package. So they'll have to open it. Like I said, so they're going to have to print it. And when you go to the printing stage, obviously they'll have to print their document, right? So they print the notebook, print the page, print the section. So, but the question is quite clear. But the question is very simple. It's the N5 is covering OneNote in a very simple way. So it's nothing to stress about. Like the demonstration I've done so much in basically in 5 minutes, and I've gone beyond the N5 curriculum in a small, simple presentation in 5 minutes. You know, so OneNote can be covered quite quickly, and it will be quite an easy section for them to handle, because we know Word and Excel, there's a lot of concepts to cover. Okay, so please make sure you cover OneNote. If you're still uncertain, if my presentation was too fast, you can download it and you can watch it again. But like I said, I have included links to other YouTube videos, which you can also download as well. The only difference there is with those ones, they are a little bit more detailed and beyond the scope. So please refer to the textbook and refer to the curriculum document, so you know you're sort of sticking to the scope of N5. That's my advice to you there. Next question again.
Do we have to teach them to use Access to create a data source? From Karen Bredenhand.
No. Oh, I actually left that out of this presentation because I covered it in May. So Access is completely out of N5. There's no Access in N5 at all. It's being replaced by OneNote. All right.
Okay.
So, and also note that with Excel now has charts in there. I know it used to be in CP N4. It is now in CP N5 in the Excel section. Okay, so sorry about that. I just assumed that all of you here attended the May webinar, so that's why I left it out, because I want to do more of the practical stuff. Okay, next question again.
From Franz Kleiser. Good day. Does it mean that all lecturers have to have a Microsoft account for them to be able to teach OneNote?
Yes, but remember, Microsoft accounts are free, just like Google accounts. So it's not difficult to go and register. So again, just like Google, you will get a mailbox. You will also get free access to files that you can actually store in the cloud. So you'll get space as well for that. So a lot of benefits for having a Microsoft account. It's free. So my advice is go and create it, but you will need it. Yeah.
Okay, from Agnes Kluter. Any idea how they can ask OneNote printing? Will it be screenshots or actual printing of notebooks?
Well, with that one, I am really not that certain. It could be a screenshot.
You can always come back to Agnes. We can just get the details and always just get some research done and come back to her on that.
Yeah, so the thing is, when we come closer to the exam time, so I will do another brief session, come close to exam time, or maybe not even a webinar, but I might just, but I definitely will provide my online support via that email address. So I will be emailing the lecturers that have sent me their details, and I will provide you with information closer to the exam, because I will follow up with the examiner closer to the time. But I'm really not too certain, but you can print the notebook. So you go to printing and you can choose to print the notebook and it will print. But I'm not certain how they're doing it. You can find out on that. Yeah.
Okay, Nazrina Joseph wants to know, don't you need internet connection for Office 365? What happens if there's no internet?
Okay, that's quite a good question. I covered this when I did the N4 webinar. So the beauty thing now on Office 365 is that you don't need internet access anymore. You need the application, right? So you need to download the application and then you can use it offline. Very similar to how you use Office 2016, 2019, how we use Office 2013. The only difference is that, see, for example, all of us were using Office 2013. You will notice there was no updates. So basically what happened is that a new version of Office came out in 2016, and all the new commands went into the new version. But with Office 365, if there is a new an update, well, if there are new versions that come out, if the new commands that come out, it actually comes via an update. And for those updates only, you need to have internet access. So obviously you'll get so as soon as you connect to the internet, and it obviously will check for an update, and it'll tell you, okay, right, an update is now available. Do you want to download it? And then you will now get your version will be automatically updated to you to all the latest commands. That's the only difference now with the older version. With previous Office 365, you had to be connected online. You couldn't really work offline that much. Here, you work offline. It works very similar to the to how Office 2016, 2019, 2013 works. But the difference being you get updated to the latest features of the package. You don't have to pay for another version as opposed to 2013, 16, or 19. Okay, there's also another version coming out now, 2021 Office. So 2019 is now going to be the older version. It was the latest. It's not going to be the latest anymore. Okay, next question.
Okay, Nompul Malelo Nsere wants to know if we're going to make the recording available. Yes, Nompul Malelo, you'll get a link sometime tomorrow. It takes you to our TVET First channel where we've got all the webinar recordings and all the YouTube videos we've done for the new curriculum textbooks. So be on the lookout for that tomorrow. The next one, Divandiran Mudli. Hi, will the new syllabus have multi-levels and data labels from Computer Practice N6?
Multi-levels. Are you referring to Word? So
you can just switch on your mic. You can switch on your mic and you can just clarify your question. Devan, you want to just switch on your mic? You can clarify your question so Shailendra can tackle it for you.
No. Okay, that's something we can handle via the email support as well again. So maybe we can just email.
All right. Okay.
To
just make a note of that. You can get back to him. Tendai Matachi, please send support materials. Okay. So there's no question. They're just asking for support materials. Frank van der Lingen. In mail merge, must the students know how to create labels?
So labels are covered in N6, right? So in N6, when dealing with mail merge, they need to know how to use labels there. So that's going to forgive me a bit as well, because I've also moved on to N5 and N6. So right now N6 is fresh in my mind. That's a book I just finished. So I just want to quickly recap myself, because I've done the N5 one quite some time back. Yeah, so to my knowledge, those labels was in, I know the labels are in N6, and yeah, they're not there in N5. So labels are in N6 for mail merge.
Okay, Frank follows up with, for Google Forms and Drive, does the college need an educational Google account for staff and lecturers to access it?
That is something the college would have to decide on. There are obvious advantages to it. And again, it depends a lot on the route your college is going as e-learning is concerned, right? So obviously, if they have a educational account, obviously they do pay for it. It's not free, right? So then they now have access to all the e-learning tools. But I know a lot of the colleges are going the Moodle route. So, you might not get that wish granted. Yeah, so depends on the college, but you don't need it. No, you can create your own. Remember, Google accounts are free, so you create your own Google account. I'm sure all of us have a Gmail address. If you have a Gmail address, you have a Google account, so you have access to Google Drive, and you can create Google Forms. The book itself shows you shows the students how to create a Google account, right? So it does take you through it step by step, how to create a Google account, and then how to access Google Drive and so forth. So even with the Microsoft account as well, it shows you that. So those are free accounts, and you don't need the college to create the education account. That depends on their route. Okay.
Okay. Liani van Schalkwyk wants to know, We have a problem with inserting online pictures due to security settings. Any advice?
Liani, yeah, that's a tough one. We have, so some of our colleges have very strange security settings. I know at one stage we ourselves could not access Gmail, so and Google for the features. So so that is my request to you is put a request through to IT. Let's say it's part of the curriculum, and the students need to know how to do it and need to have access to the facility. So my advice to you is to do it that way. Put a request in, and you can quote extracts from the curriculum document where it actually does tell you that they need to insert online pictures. So yeah, that would be my advice.
Okay, Sepati Monacheng, is it a must to switch off the internet with CPN for exams?
Oh, I'm not certain with regard to that college policy there, because and I actually can't comment too much on that because obviously I can't, it depends on the examiner what the question is on the examiner. But if the examiner wants you to insert an online picture and you don't have access to the internet, then how are you gonna handle that part? So I do know the security issues regarding copying or using internet access. So that is something I really can't answer. It's college have to decide, and I don't know whether, and I can't say whether the examiner asks the question to say insert an online picture or insert a picture from a file that's given in the key material. So if it's just key materials, then it's fine. But if not, then obviously you'll need access. So I really can't answer that one.
Okay, Itumeleng Sekabisa, when it comes to the online forms, can I use Microsoft Forms instead of Google Forms? Will that help the students or disadvantage them?
Okay, so it's actually interesting that you mentioned that, because if you look at the computer N6 curriculum, so Microsoft Forms is in N6. So if you are keen to jump into that, that is in the N6 curriculum. They will need to use it there. Yes and no, because the Google form has different features, different advantages from your Microsoft Forms. So my advice to you is to stick to the Google Forms for N5, and don't worry because Microsoft Forms are coming in N6. So you will be covered in the N6 curriculum. So the students will have access to it. So rather discover Google Forms in N5. Stick to that.
Guguletu Khadebe wants to know how to print OneNote, or are we going to use the print screen for printout? I think you've tackled that earlier.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's anything. Yeah. Rufia de Vries, OneNote requires a connection to the internet though. Our previous exam instructions were to turn all internet connections off. Has that changed? I think that's also been addressed.
Yeah.
You said it depends on the college policies, not?
Well, that is a tough one. And like I said, yeah. So my request would be, my suggestion would be to put a request in, say that you need it for OneNote, and then take it from there.
Yeah. Okay, Liani van Skalbeck says, you keep referring to training in May. Can we be part of it for N6? Liani, just to respond to that, we invited all colleges, so it's the same database we work from. So I'm surprised you didn't receive the original training for May, because this is the third computer practice N5 training we are running. But we'll add you to the database and make sure that you get the email. But you please check with your heads of department, because very often they receive the notifications.
Actually, again, if I just can come in, I think I received a request from her today. I think with regards
Right.
to, there was a problem with the spreadsheet. I think her email address was incorrectly added. So maybe that's why she did not get uh, the links. But her colleagues would have got it, you know.
Yeah.
But I've now updated that, and I'll also share it with you again. So maybe we can correct
All
it on our, yeah.
Okay. Simpipe Sumo, in Excel, very basic formulae were covered, yet on the syllabus, functions are mentioned as well for N5. Do we have to cover all the functions formally tabled on a computer practice syllabi received?
Well, obviously the N4 functions, you know, will be questioned again, right? So some average, min, max count will all be there. And my advice to you is that those are recap. So the students that know it, you need to make sure that you question them and they do it. Please focus on the N5 functions because they will come in. There are some functions that obviously really does not make a lot of sense. Um, some of the mathematical functions. So, you know, if you're really running out of time, maybe you can look at leaving some of those ones out, uh, such as root, finding the root and the square and so forth. You know, so yeah, have a look at that. But please, all the business functions must be covered. They are definitely will be in the exam question. I just can't say for certain if it's going to be all going to be tested in one exam. You know, well, we all are lecturers. We all set papers. It's very difficult to create a question that tests all the functions. But you do really want to guess to see which one the examiner is leaving out. So I feel it's better to prepare them on all the functions, and in that way, whichever one comes out, you know they're able to handle it in the exam.
Okay, Tebogo Mafate wants access to the May webinar. We'll make that available to you. You could, when I send the link to you tomorrow, you could use the same link that will take you to the TVET First channel page I spoke about earlier. So you find all the recordings on that page. So it'll be very easy to navigate and to access that. Nazrina Joseph, thank you very much. She says, amazing presentation. Thank you. Devin Deeren has come back. He says, hi, yes, from MS Word. And I can't quite remember what was, let's just go back to what he said earlier.
Oh, regarding, I think he talked about multi-level lists. That is in
Yes.
N6. Multi-level list is in N6.
Okay, that's
N5.
fine.
Yeah.
So it's been very interactive. I mean, we've had a host of questions this afternoon, which has been fantastic. I mean, it's kept you on your toes.
Yeah, I actually kept the presentation quite short this time around because I wanted to really engage them.
Right. And I think it's
this was purely
it's
because
very
of the
working.
email. Yeah.
Zeldin van Us, as far as I know, multi-level numbering and mail merge letters and labels are in N5 as well. You want to just clarify that?
Let me just quickly look at the curriculum. I know it's, oh, sorry. Yes, she's right. I'm looking at the curriculum document now. Yes, it is in N5. Multi-level numbering and bullets is in N5. That's correct. Yes. Yeah, no, sorry about that. You know, the thing is that, like I said, you know, I've last worked with the N5 book quite some time back. So N6 is really fresh on my mind. So some of these technical things. But guys, please, my advice to you is that whatever is in the textbook, you need to make sure you cover them. If it's there, you know it's covered as per the curriculum document, and also check the curriculum document. Those of you that don't have the final version, we will also put a link to it. It's also on the D8 website, right? And then we can also put a link to it. Ken, is it possible? Can we put a link to it?
To the D8 website?
To the final curriculum document.
We can include it tomorrow. Yeah, would you
Okay.
send it to me? Then I will just forward it to all those are registered. So just send me the final curriculum document that you have.
Yeah. So yes. So I will do that.
And we'll
Okay.
include it in the email.
I think I have it open here. Here we go. So it is open here. So this is the final document, right? And then if you look at towards the end, and this is the beauty part of this document here, is that it has a table. And as you can see here on this table, it actually tells you the functions that are covered in N4 and the functions that are covered in N5. So it's a nice summary of of what you really need to make sure that the students are aware of, right? Or they need to know. So, like I said, if you're looking at N5, so some of the maths, if you have time to really finish all the functions, like the maths functions such as quotient, power, mode, uh, those ones I know are not really going to be tested in the final exam. But all the other ones are definitely going to be coming in. But they will not be able to have a question to test all of them, you know. So we don't know what question is coming out. But my advice is to cover as many as you can. So these are the ones, as you can see, focus on functions covered. Skills, be very careful of this because when they did this thing here, there's a lot of overlap between the different levels. So please be careful around that. I might advise you stick to the section where it says functions covered. Those are the functions you need to know that you have done. And then when you go up to the various sections, like say example, now you go into the word section. I can quickly get us there. Uh, the outcomes are here. So please make sure you have a look at the outcome. Make sure you are familiar with it because these are things you need to know, you need to cover. So there we go. So I actually went through Word very quickly. And to be honest, I actually didn't really prepare a presentation too much on Word because I covered it in May. So, and I wanted to spend more time on OneNote and questions and answers. So I actually did not focus on Word itself and even Excel as well. So because that was covered in May. So please, if you have more questions around it, make sure you cover the curriculum because if it's in the curriculum, that's where it's going to be tested from. So that'll be my advice to you. Any other more questions,
Okay,
Ken?
from
Or are we
Frank.
done?
Yeah. No, Frank wants to know exam questions for Google Forms and Drive. Will students need to do it practical and then submit a print screen for theory answer, or will the questions be solely theoretically questioned and answered?
Okay, so the practical questions are all coming from topic 1. So that is something that we need to bear in mind. Topic 1 has our practical questions. So topic 1 has all our applications. So for N5, what we need to know is file management, Word, Excel, OneNote. Those are your practical questions. So all the other material is going to be tested theoretically. So there was supposed to be a test. Well, we know it fell away because of the COVID pandemic, right? And they did a revised ICAS guideline. And they're also supposed to be a PAT, and the PAT was also supposed to bring in more of all of these concepts, especially from the latter modules, from your modules 3, topics 3, topic 4, topic 5. Those concepts are supposed to come into the PAT. But I know the PAT is not being implemented this year. It's not even on the plans for next year. So they will slowly bring in the PAT. So my advice to you is that to manage yourself for the pandemic, I know it's a lovely skill for the kids to know, right? You may not just have the time to do it practically. So make sure they cover it. They are aware it'll be tested theoretically. If you do have the time, expose them to it. Great. It's a lovely skill to learn. And the chances are they'll actually remember the work better if they do with a practical work. But they're not going to be expected in an exam to answer it practically, right? It'll be theoretical questions.
Okay.
So yeah,
Sulangina Shoba, multi-level and labels, are they included in the exams?
I think we covered that question already. The
Okay.
answer is yes.
Nazrina
Please
Jusub,
go over
can
the
you tell
curriculum.
us more on blogging principles and creating and editing a blog site?
Okay, so like I said, it's going to be tested theoretically. So that is why I did not present a practical presentation for it, right? So my advice to you, I don't know whether you have the time and you want to do it practically with them. If you do have the time, there's some lovely, beautiful YouTube videos that shows you how to make use of blogs and so forth. The book is also shows how to do it step by step. But like I said, for the exam, there's so little time left. I don't know how you guys are gonna manage with that. So uh, all I can say is that it's going to be tested theoretically. So how you want to handle the teaching of it is completely up to you. Yeah.
Karen Bredenhand, is it possible to have the instructions that Dee had gave to examiners?
Oh, no. So the feedback I'm giving you is the feedback I received, we as authors that we received during the training process and so forth regarding guidelines for the exams. So regarding guidelines for the examiner, I don't think those guidelines are issued to colleges and lecturers, so yeah,
So it's
you
not for
could,
public knowledge.
it's not for public knowledge, to my understanding. You could maybe check with DN, but to my understanding, it's not, because what we need to be doing, we need to make sure that we are sticking to the curriculum. That's what we need to be doing. The idea of the sample exam is to provide a guideline as to how the new curriculum is going to be assessed. So my advice to you is use the sample exams, because that is an idea of how it could be tested. But we are testing the curriculum. And like I said, we don't know what the examiner is going to be doing. They cannot test every single concept. They're going to be chopping and changing on what they want to really test. So my advice to you is to stick to the curriculum and try and manage your time in a very tactful way, because we don't have a lot of time left, and that'll be my advice to you. You have to make use of self-study, so that'll be my advice. But you need to try and cover the curriculum, especially focus on the practical section in topic 1. Topic 1 is tested practically, so make sure they know how to do it practically. The remaining topics, they're not going to be tested practically. So they only need to have theoretical knowledge there. You can teach it practically for understanding, but just remember that they will not be required to do it practically. And that is given in the exam guideline in the curriculum document as well. So yeah, so you can refer to that one. And let's see if I can quickly get there. It's in the document. Yeah. Right. So if you look at it, here's section B, and as you can see here, right? So this is not even a screenshot. This is directly of the document. Right. As you can see, section A has topics 1 to topic 5. Right. That's theory. Section B is practical, and as you can see, it's only topic 1, topic 1, topic 1, topic 1. Where is this topic 3? Topic 3, I mentioned to you before in CP in 4. What they're talking about is integration, right? So your questions need to be integrated. By that, what they mean is that they'll give you a scenario, and that one scenario will be based on file management, Word, Excel, and OneNote. So it's basically you doing all the skills based on one scenario. That's an example of integration. So like I said, stick to the sample exam. The sample exam does cover an integration type question where file management, Word and Excel and OneNote is based on the same scenario. That's an example of how integration will be done. But section B, the practical question, is only on Word, Excel, OneNote, and file manager. So that's all you need to know for the practical section. And that's 120 marks, right? So bear in mind, guys, that's 120 marks. the theory is only 60 marks. That's just be tactful on how we handle the other topics. Okay.
Nompumelelo and Sele wants to know, multi-level is not covered in N5. That's her question. Is it true or not?
No, it's in N5, and we are on this document here. Like I said, it's in the curriculum document. So just go over it, and there we go here.
And she continues with mail merge. It comes with labels for N5 with the new syllabus.
Yes, yeah. So it comes with labels. That's right. There's a day in N5. Yeah. So like I said, guys, I did not focus this this presentation on Word because I did it in May, and like it's in the curriculum documents in the textbook. So please refer to it. But I was only gonna. My aim was purely just to focus on the guys on OneNote and exam and assignment type questions. So yeah. So regarding to actual curriculum itself, please guys refer to the curriculum document, refer to the textbook. If it's in the textbook, it's in the curriculum. Yeah.
Okay, from Robert LaRue, on page 19 in the syllabus, it says specifically that labels need to be covered in N5. Earlier you said it is not in N5. Please help. So they just want clarity on that.
Yeah. So like I said, we need to stick to the curriculum document, right? And if you stay in the curriculum document, then you know it needs to be covered. And I did not really go through this curriculum before this presentation for what. So I did not focus, but there you can see here very clearly in N5 it says you need to create labels, right? So labels are covered in N5 for what.
So I think if there's any doubt, you just refer to the curriculum document. I mean, that is your starting and finishing point.
Yeah. So please do that. And yeah, this intention was not to go into Word, so I didn't even recap on the new curriculum for Word. And like I said, N6 is still in my head. So yeah, so please make sure you do that. And it's whatever is in the book, you need to make sure you cover it. And my advice to you all was to focus on topic 1 practical. That is 120 marks out of 180. So obviously logic would tell you if you want them to pass, we need to make sure that 120 marks is where you put in the bulk of your time.
Okay, Liani van Skalpik, you need advanced ICDL to be able to teach all these Excel functions. Is that correct?
Well, with regards to training, that is something that is an organizational issue. So, you know, every college, we ask you to fill in the documentation regarding your personal growth, right? And you can request for upskilling your knowledge. So obviously, if you want to require ICDL training, then you can put it in there and you can, the colleges all have training budgets, you know. So my advice to you all is that, especially looking at the N6 curriculum, and if you're teaching N5, you're going to be teaching N6, right? So my advice to you all is that the ICDL is a very, very nice program to learn how to acquire these skills. But the function itself is not difficult to implement in N5. In N6, however, there the functions are, I could say, you know, you actually need to be well versed because they are a little bit tricky. But in Excel, in N5, they are quite simple. Is how you apply them. In N4 is very, you know, so you just insert the function, the criteria is there, you put in your, you set your source, and it calculates the result for you. So N5 functions are actually not difficult. Um, but the N6, however, dealing with pivot tables and so forth, there it requires a little bit of skill set. If you haven't worked with a pivot table before, you definitely will need training for that.
Okay, another request for the final document. So you're going to send that on to me, and I will forward it to the group.
Okay. So I think
Karen Greenland wants to know. I don't know if it's a question. She just stated 1.4.1 is multi-level numbers in curriculum document. Do you make sense of that? 1.4.1 is multi-level numbers in curriculum document.
Yeah, it's 1.4.3, right? So it's there in the curriculum document, right? We did cover this before. Yeah, so it is there. Like I said, please refer to the curriculum document for all the sections you need to cover. The workshop we did webinar in May, that is the one where I went through in detail the difference between the old curriculum, the new curriculum, what is new for all the packages. So in this one, I actually didn't. I only just went through, just put it there, and I just to show that it's there, and then we went into the focus onto OneNote and the training for the exam and so forth. So please note, you need to stick to the curriculum document. Everyone needs to have access to it. You need to know what's in the curriculum document and need to make sure it's covered. But like I said, the textbooks are all based on the new curriculum. So if it's in the curriculum document, it should be in the textbook, and you need to cover it.
Okay, that was the last of the questions. It was quite intense, and I think we tried to cover everything as far as possible. If there's anything further, I think you can liaise directly with Shailendra. He's put up his email. And if you missed the N5 earlier webinars that were held in May and you'd like to catch up, you'll find the link tomorrow. So please, you can access the May webinars using that link, as well as today's webinar. So if you just want to recap or just slow things down and look at it at your own pace, you're welcome to do that. We'll also include the curriculum document, the latest one that we have available. Thank you very much for your attendance. Thanks, Shailendra, for sharing your knowledge and your insights, and I think just providing additional support to lecturers. I'm sure it's been well appreciated, and we love your feedback. So when you get you get my email tomorrow, please just send through some feedback. We'll really appreciate it. And we're seeing a lot of thanks coming through. Liani wants to know, will you be able to help with N6 with the difficult things? We will be setting up another webinar lectures for N6 once we're just busy with the promo books at present, and you'll be getting these promo books in the next few weeks. So probably around September, October, we look at tackling the N6 webinars, and then Shailendra will cover the difficult concepts.
Yeah,
thank you. Shailendra, final word from you.
Yeah, just to add in there, guys, just to remember that we normally have 2 webinars at the outset before you choose your books. And then at those 2 webinars, it's basically the same one repeated, right? What we do there is to cover the detail in what's new in the curriculum and the changes from the old curriculum and what you can expect and how to prepare for the new course. That is the intention of the first set of webinars. Then you get the third webinar, like I could see here, is specific training. So, so focusing more on concepts that, you really need extra help on, and also to prepare for the assessments. So the whole point is preparing for the assessments, preparing the students for the assessments, dealing with how we can improve pass rates, and also dealing with very specific content that is really, really challenging, and you maybe need some physical training on. And that is the idea around these sets of webinars. So please watch the first set that's going to come for N6, because they will cover the in-depth the difference between the old curriculum, the new curriculum, what's coming through, how to prepare for the new curriculum, and how the textbook actually covers it, and the advantages and the tools that could be used from the textbook for the new curriculum. So that is my advice to you. Please attend it. Thank you so much for attending this workshop and for making the time. I know there was change in the time, and I really appreciate that. Any issues, please, guys, we set up the support email, sassy.textbooks@gmail.com. Please make use of it, and yeah, and then we'll try and answer your questions as timely as possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
Goodbye.